Ladies and gentlemen, and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages and everything in between, welcome, welcome, welcome. You know who it is. It is the kid, Unc Just, aka Uncle Pizza, in the flesh, right? Uncle Pizza in the flesh at the pepperoni wall, the wall of Ronies. You guys know the deal. I am that pizza freak, always resonating at that pizza frequency. Huh? Little play on it. Pizza freak. That's F-R-E-Q with like a umlaut. Maybe an umlaut. I don't know. What is the pizza frequency? Well, you know, I think it's a vibe that I resonate at. It means that I love talking about pizza. I do. I love it. Pizza cognition, all the different styles, the flavors, the toppings, this style, that style, deepers, crispies, whole thing. I love eating it. Oh man, pizza is my favorite food. I believe that I have something from kindergarten or first grade that said, what's my favorite food? And I said pizza. But mostly what I love about pizza is that it's made to be shared. Yeah. It's a big old hunk of bread and cheese and sauce and veggies and meats and stuff. There's a reason that the food pyramid is shaped like a triangle, shaped like a piece of pizza, right? It's made to be shared. Community, breaking bread with people that you care about, that you want to share your time and your meal with. Breaking bread with people that you give a shit about. And I have a sneaking suspicion that you two, my friends, you also resonate at that pizza frequency. Or why else would you be here? And where is here? All right. Brings us up to speed. Here we are. Leaven Foods. Instant sourdough. Class dose. Last week we did the Neapolitan. Right? Neo. Old school. Tradition. Noel got to use his little uni special mixer. The little uni halo. Everybody got to see the little curly Q spiral around. We used 110 degree water. That's crazy. Neo, old school. I don't think it was DOP or VOD or whatever. It's definitely be VOD on YouTube. Be VOD. Last week's episode up already. Be VOD. I'm kidding. But last week we did Neo. This week we're doing Neo. What does that even mean? New Neo? New Neapolitan? I don't know. We're going to get into it. You know the deal. We're using the microbes. We're really excited. Noel, Leaven Foods came together. New microbes, bringing it to the market, encouraging everybody to use it because we are trying to coax hey, look at that. Hey, there it is. As most amount of flavor, the most amount of flavor that we can out of that doji dough, that found day dough, because taking back to that frequency, whether it be people or pizza, you don't have a solid found day dough, how can you build upon it? So I'm excited. Noel's going to take us through a mix. I think we're going to make a couple pizzas. We're going to be answering your questions. Always jam them in the chat. I think the chat's right down here. If you've never been with us, welcome. Thank you so much for spending your Monday evening with you. If you have spent time with us before, welcome back, my friends. Thank you. We love you guys. Remember, this is open source pizza making. We're all going on this journey together. Really excited. I think my microbes are coming in the mail. I'll be making pizzas with them and trying them out. Right now, I'm doing a sourdough, so it'll be really fun to see the old variables in the pizza equation. How what type of flavors and we can coax out using the microbes, and I'm really excited that we're all doing that. Where is the blue bell? Here it is. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring them on, ladies and gentlemen. You say, "Oh no, Justin, you're so handsome and so clever, and you're not wearing a collared shirt." That's okay. Sometimes it's not a collared shirt night, but you know what it is? No Brohner time, Mr. Slow Rise. Come on down. Justin, Oh, you screwed it up. Your mic's not down. Your mic's not down.
Justin.
We got turn off your. That's really.
You want me to enter again? Enter again?
No. This.
All right.
You gotta. You gotta roll with it. You gotta roll with. You were probably hypnotized by
Justin,
that intro.
What people don't know is when you're going on and on and on, pontificating, ringing bells, whatever you're doing, I'm prepping, I'm tearing basil, I'm getting out all my mise en place.
You don't have to be embarrassed because you were hypnotized by my opening.
Well,
it's okay.
Nobody enjoys your openings more than I do.
Speaking of openings, I never got to see any of that crumb structure from last week's Neapolitan dough.
Good.
Everybody was asking about it.
Not everybody. Okay. Ezra was asking.
See, being coy with the crumb. Here's the question. Last week was Annabella's birthday. You were allowed to be coy with the crumb. I want to know, the people demand, will you be coy with the crumb tonight?
Yes, I will continue to be coy with the crumb.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Understand. My wife's birthday lasts a whole month. That's how we do it in my house. We're going to Santa Barbara this weekend. We're going. Oh no! This week let's just say we've had a rough month, so we're extending her birthday.
Understandable. So, all right, you heard it here. No crumb structure.
Here's the thing. Even though everybody wants to see it. Neo-Neapolitan is not about crumb structure, and that's what we're doing.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, I am. Now, when we get to Canotto, Justin, then we're talking crumb structure.
Well, I thought that the Canotto was Neo-Neo.
Well, let's talk about that.
Bring me up to speed here, because you and I have spent a lot of time on the Zoomies talking with chefs all around the world, pizza masters, pizzolos, and we've done Neapolitan. We've been Neapolitan 2.0. I feel like we've done Neo-Neo at some point, but maybe not. I thought that Neo 2.0 was that's what we were kind of doing, but you told me that that's not the case. So can you help me better understand what we're looking for? What I always like to say, what are the tenets and textures of this dough that we're chasing here?
Good. All right. So last week we did a Neapolitan dough, right? 60% hydration, 100% 00 flour. Right, 3% salt, and a very, 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 very low amount of yeast. The equivalent of
yeast, though.
Hold on.
Okay.
The equivalent of
my notes.
0.025% IDY or 2.5% Levain. That's where we were at.
Okay.
And that would be for something like a 24-hour to 30-hour ambient temperature rise, not unlike they do at one of my favorite pizzerias in the world, Spacca Napoli in Chicago, right?
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Goldsmith.
Yeah. So Jonathan has been one of our guests. Mm-hmm. He'll be back again. He's actually going to be here in LA working with me in August, because I'm going to give him private pizza lessons in August.
Whoa!
That's as a gift, because I appreciate him so much. So. Great. Anyway, so we did Neapolitan. We were using the Uni Volt at about 800 degrees. It goes higher, but I am, if I were there, like if I could be two places at once, spinning the pies, making sure the bottom doesn't burn, I would have been doing it. But I was just setting a timer, turning it once, and so I think 800, 775 is right where I want to be with that oven, and it came out great.
What's the deck in that little oven?
It's a 12-inch deck.
12-inch deck, yeah. And there's not a whole lot of turning. You got to kind of take it out to turn it, right? I mean, if you really are.
Yeah, and I don't have like a proper turning peel.
Right, and you lose a lot of the heat if you but it's a good little oven. You're having fun.
No. Surprisingly, you do not. You lose a lot of the heat. It's very temporary because it's so intense, and the little box, you have top and bottom heat, and the insulation on the door is beautiful.
It looks like it's pretty thick insulation too.
It's good. It does a really nice job.
So you use the Univote to cook, but you also use what's right next to you to do the mix.
Yeah, this is the Uni Halo. It's their new spiral mixer. It does about 5 kilos of dough. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Yep. So I've been doing all my mixing with it, trying to get to know it. It's very powerful and also very gentle.
And just to clarify, No, we're not Uni ambassadors. We're not anything like that.
No,
This
we're
is
not.
not a
We're
paid
not selling.
endorsement.
No,
We're not selling stuff, but we do like the product, and
you
it's
know,
been working.
Christian, the owner of Uni, showed up very early during our foray into virtual pizza classes back in early 2020, and I think he liked your personality more than my pizza skills.
It's
Actually,
understandable. I get that a
he
lot.
he's one of the people that thinks you're hilarious.
Good, thank you. I mean, I think there's like three. My mom, Christian. Well, there's two.
Your mom and Christian. For people that don't know, Christian is the CEO of Uni, and an all-around nice guy.
Well, tell him to give me a call. I'd be their shill for sure.
There you go. So anyway, we did the Neapolitan thing. We made 3-4 pizzas. They came out great. I fed them to my wife afterwards. She loved them. And then, so this week, what we're doing is we're going to do something called Neo-Neapolitan. And I want to have a quick conversation about that, and then we'll get right into the mix. Okay. All right? So I don't think that there is a by-the-books definition of it. I would say that there are certain purveyors of the style, and let's have a conversation about who they might be. Let me throw out a name, and you tell me what you think.
Yeah, okay, great.
I'm going to say Chris Bianco. What do you think?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. You throw out a name. You throw out a name. I'm going to
say Bianco.
I said Bianco. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, who's our buddy that started Roberta's?
Angelo.
Angelo.
Yeah.
Would you call that Neo?
I would, and I'll tell you. So yeah. So let's talk before we get too crazy. I'm gonna throw out one more. I'm gonna throw out Dan Ricker. Or is it Richer? It's been so long.
I think, yeah. I mean,
How about this?
Yes?
How about this? Yes, no, maybe so. Before
let me
go on.
Throw out one. Okay.
Go ahead.
How about folks? How about our buddy Joey?
Not using a wood-fired oven,
right.
But I'm not going to say no because he gets that beautiful char.
If I may, we spent a lot of time in Dan's restaurant working, and he did it in his home oven, he did it in a wood-fired oven, and in the restaurant I know to order they're using wood fire, but Dan also showed us his new, I think it was a Pizza Master, and Dan basically said he could get the same results out of a deck that he could in his wood fire, and he was doing that for deliveries, I believe, and for like takeaways. But so, do you have to do it wood fire?
Well, you want my answer? I would say yes. And the reason I would say yes is that even though Dan had the best of intentions, he never ended up doing what he intended to do. I think he's using that electric oven for something different. Interesting.
Okay, so because that was my next question. The mix could be the same, the dough could be the same, but depending on no.
So let's break it down. So here's what let's start with Roberta's because I happen to know that dough pretty well, and I've worked with Angelo, worked with many of the people that have worked there. So one of the things they do that we're going to borrow from tonight is they do a combination, basically 50-50 of 00 flour and King Arthur.
AP.
Yeah. Could be the AP, could be the bread flour. But there's a whole generation of pizza makers that love Neapolitan, but they want a little extra some.
Right.
And one of the things that gives them that is the blend of flours.
It's very interesting. So you would say, if I'm hearing correctly, the 00 basically, it's so gentle, right? That the flour is low protein, right? Gentle mouth chew, right? And then if you want a little bit more strength, you add something like a King Arthur AP, which you've told me has a little bit more protein than maybe some of the other APs. And if you want even a little bit more, then you would use a bread flour. If you're chasing a little bit more of that strength and chewiness, correct?
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that, but I see where you're stepping in. So here's what I would say. Strength is not really what I'm talking about. What I think people are shooting for is they want less tip sag And so when you say strength, I think about higher protein. When I say strength, what I'm thinking about, listen, is a combination of maybe a little more fermentation tolerance, so you can go a little longer on the fermentation. Most Neapolitan traditionally is anywhere from 8 to maybe 16 hours, right? So a lot of our friends, like for instance at Roberta's, I think they're, when I worked with them at the Pizza Expo 5 years ago, their best dough was 48 to 72 hours. So under 24, not so great. I'm not saying they can't make great dough in 24 hours,
Sure.
but I think like a lot of American pizzerias, 48 to 72 is more in the wheelhouse. But also, another thing that's super important is they drop the temperature of the oven. Super important.
Right. I mean, because Neapolitan is traditionally cooked at super high temperatures. I mean, it's like you hear about, it's a 90-second cook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you drop the temperature, say, from like 800 or 900 to what? 700, 650?
It really depends, because if I think about all the different people that make, what some would call Neo-Neapolitan, there's a huge range. So, like for instance, I don't know if some people would call what Nancy Silverton does Neo-Neapolitan. I might.
Yeah.
But I remember when she opened, I couldn't believe that she was getting such a thin, crispy, kind of like bready, bakery style pizza out of a wood-fired oven. And I remember sitting there clocking her pizzas, and they were coming out in 8 or 9 minutes.
I remember you talking about this. And then did
8.5 minutes out of a wood-fired oven, unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always think of Neo-Neapolitan, or maybe artisan pizza has the bottom crust, the undercarriage of a New York, with the like cornicione, the outer rim of a Neapolitan. I mean, that's really what I'm looking for. And when I do say strength, that's what I'm looking for. I say no to LDP. It's just not what I like, which is limp, fill in the blank pizza. But I want to have that big open crust that my wife can break open, put the little Maldon and some olive oil, and soak up all the pepperoni
I would say the
juices.
big open crust might not necessarily be a feature of all Neo-Neapolitans, right? Maybe more of a Canotto. But here's the thing. We're not here to define how people define Neo-Neapolitan. Right. We're going to just teach people a mixing style today that people can use, and we're going to kind of use a basic it's basically a basic Neapolitan mix. It's one speed, right? Low, right? Low inclusion rate, like last week, right? I would say something that we haven't talked about yet is salt, right? So usually the Neapolitan pizza that I'm familiar with is anywhere from 3 to even 3.5%. I've seen
we were at
go
3
higher.
last week.
We were at 3 last week. So we're going to be at 3 this week. But here's what I'll say. Guys like Dan Richer, right, at Razza, he's closer to 2%.
Yeah.
If I don't know what Chris Bianco's number is, but it tastes to me like he might even be lower than 2%, maybe even 1.8. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could keep it at 3. You could drop it down. I'm going to keep it at 3 just for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then in terms of inclusion rate, I'm going to go a little higher. So instead of I'm going to go equivalent of 0.05% IDY or 5% Levain, right?
Okay, so last week we were at 2.5%. This week we're going to be at 5%.
Levain,
Okay.
the equivalent of 5% Levain.
Levain.
And for people who, now that we're working with microbes, last week we were at 1.65?
We were at 1.625 grams.
1.625. And this week we're doubling that. So we're going to be at 3.25 grams of the all-purpose sourdough microbes.
Yeah, and last week we were at 0.025% microbes. And this week we're going to be at 0.05%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the instant dry.
That's the equivalent.
equivalent.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So you take that equivalent and you multiply it, or you use our dough calculator on the microbe calculator site, and it automatically multiplies by 6.5 for the all-purpose and by 5 for the wild yeast.
Oh, great. Okay. Cool.
right?
So based on what your inclusion rate would be with your yeast,
Yeah.
therefore you can put it into the Leaven Foods
Yeah.
website and get how much you actually have to use. All right. Because we're using more yeast, last week I believe our dough temperature came out at like 91 degrees. And you said it was okay. You were not worried. You were saying anywhere between 85 and 90 was really going to be fine. It came out at 91.
The inclusion rate is so low. If I look back at my recipe from last week, here's one of the things that I'll notice. We came out. Oh my God, we came out so hot. But I did stretch and folds, and it looks like after a couple of hours we were down to 78, which is exactly where we wanted to be.
I think we did 2 stretch and folds, and like by the time whoa. Look at that. There go the balloons. I don't know.
From stretch and fold, you get balloons?
No, I think it was the peace symbol.
I see.
Yeah. It was, by the time we came out at 91, but then by the time class ended, you were already down to 85.
Yeah.
But that was pretty interesting because I think you used 100 and something degree water, didn't you?
I did.
97 degree water is what we used.
I used 113 degree water.
113, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was really crazy. So do we have, because there's more yeast, do we have a lower desired dough temperature?
Yeah, we're going to go lower this week.
Okay. So do we have a range this week that you want to try to?
Well, so here's what I'm going to try to do. And so I'm going to use room temperature water. So right now it's a beautiful day in Santa Monica. It's been in the 80s, but today the temperature dropped a little bit. Yeah, so nice. It's in the low 70s. So right now it's about 74 degrees in my apartment. Okay. So I'm going to say the room temperature, flour temperature, all about 74. And so in a perfect world, right? I'm going to let everybody decide what temperature they're going to ferment their dough at. I like to, so like for instance, for me, if I look at what nights look like in Santa Monica right now, they're perfect for dough, about 60, 61, 62 degrees. So I like to leave my dough on my patio at night, right? And then I like to ball it in the morning, right? And then I like to wait for it to get that nice sour flavor. And I have 2 options. I could either bake it tomorrow, depending on the temperature of the evening and then the morning, anywhere from, let's say, 16 or 18 hours up to 24 hours later, I could bake it. Or we could do what we learned from John at Napoli. You let the dough get to about 75 or 80% of where you want it to be in terms of fermentation, then you pop it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
40 degrees. And then, because we have such a low inclusion rate, it really doesn't rise very much.
Yeah.
Right? And so what I'm trying to teach people, especially during these first 2 sessions, the Neapolitan and the Neo-Neapolitan, is let's get our flavor not from a lot of levain or instant sourdough. Let's get our flavor from managing the fermentation, going long on time, right? Not using any refrigeration unless we decide to. Right? And you can make pizza at 80 degrees, 70 degrees, 60 degrees. Once you get down into the 50s, it really takes a lot more time. Mm-hmm. So, my pizza mentors, people like Dan from Razza, people like Chris Bianco, they're doing relatively short fermentation, under 48 hours for sure, and they get beautiful flavor. Yeah. Chris gets it with yeast. Dan gets it from sourdough. Yeah. Right? Nancy Silverton, I know a couple of her bakers. I think she used to use something called a sponge. At some point she might have been using a sourdough. At some point maybe a pouliche. It's a little bit of a mystery, right? So there's a lot of great Neo-Neapolitan pizza out there. Right, Roberta's I always thought was really good. I appreciate when I was learning to make bread and pizza in New York, almost 20 years ago. Roberta's had just opened in Brooklyn, and I went out there and I saw what they were doing, and I thought it was really fun.
What about your buddy Daniele at Pizzana?
I would say that is a perfect example of a Neo-Neapolitan because he's not baking it at 90 seconds. He's baking it probably closer to 2.5 minutes, right? And it holds up. Also, he's not using yeast. He's using a pre-ferment, which also I think is another tenet of the Neo-Neapolitan style. Doesn't have to be. You can do it with yeast.
Put your mic back up a little bit, then.
Oh, hate when that happens.
There you go. Hey, whoa, whoa,
All
whoa. You know, here's my thing, though.
Yeah.
If you go to his Brentwood location, they have a wood-fired oven. However, in the Marina del Rey, they have a pizza master.
No way.
When?
Well. This I did not know.
That's why I'm letting you know.
All right. I want to go there now.
So, I went there. I would. Now I'd like to. I really want to try the Brentwood location.
Good.
That's what I'll say.
So
All
Justin.
Right. so
Justin, we've been chatting.
I know,
Let's give people the game plan.
Okay. Yep.
And then we will start mixing in, let's say, 5 minutes or less.
Right. This is what I want to do. I want you to run over the. I want to talk through the recipe.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And we're going to get the ingredients into the bowl. We're going to walk through this mix together, and then once the mix is done, we might. You're going to start making pizzas, cleaning up. Do you want to bring the boys on then, or we want to make some pizzas and maybe bring the boys on after?
I think let's get some pizzas made, and then we'll bring the boys on, and we'll talk about some of the. We'll talk about. I'll call it the ghost in the machine because we've been working on trying to get all our formulas down, and I do something in Los Angeles, and then James does something in San Diego, and then we compare notes and try to figure out. All right, we use different flours, we had slightly different temperatures, we have different mixers, so many. What do you call it?
Variables in the pizza equation.
There you go.
And it's not pizza equation. It's just one word. Pizza equation.
Well, Justin, I can't turn a phrase quite like you, so I'm going to stick to the English language.
Don't you dare.
As Merriam-Webster intended it, and you do you, Justin, because that's why you're here.
Don't you dare.
I could have hired Merriam-Webster, but no.
I don't know if she's available. I don't think you could. She's very expensive. You get me for cheap. All right, so walk me through this Neapolitan
let's do this.
mix.
Let's do this. All right, so.
And we did have a quick question, real quick. Susan is asking, King Arthur's 00 flour. Do you recommend that or a different brand of?
Highly.
Okay.
Highly.
So the difference between that and some of the other 00s, does the King Arthur 00, does it have malt and stuff like that?
No,
or have
malt.
Okay.
No malt. So it's a very fine grind. And so you could use Caputo, you could use any of the Italian brands that you want. You could use King Arthur. You don't even have to use 00 if you don't want. The most important thing is that, like for instance, the Caputo brand is 12.5% protein, which is not the same as 12.5 American. So it's a little different. It's a little more extensible. It's a little weaker, even though technically it's 12.5, just like the King Arthur bread flour. But,
interesting.
Yeah. And so, for instance, this 00 flour that from King Arthur, it's using American wheat, which I'm told Caputo does as well. They mix flour from all over the world, but it's actually 11.5. Okay. That's what they spec it out at, plus or minus a quarter of a point. So we're going to, at least for this class, we're going to do now 00. Now, I have some dough that I made that actually, instead of using the King Arthur, I actually used some Cairn Spring Mills. And this is the organic Edison. And what I liked about it, Justin, beautiful, look at you. What I liked about it is that this is the organic Edison all-purpose, and the protein is 10 to 11%. What do you got?
11.5 on the Sequoia.
Yeah, so yours is a little stronger. I wanted something weak.
Okay.
I wanted something weak.
That's for that nice, gentle, pillowy mouthfeel, right?
Yeah, and I nailed it. And so it's actually really hard to do because a lot of people, I don't know, like maybe I really do appreciate Neapolitan pizza done well. And I know people have their criticisms. You need a knife and a fork, or it gets floppy, or you have to eat it within the first 5 minutes. But when it's done right, it's glorious.
Right.
And so for me, I respect the tradition. It's not my go-to pizza style, but for me, it's like classical music, right? This morning, I was listening to Glenn Gould, right? And Glenn Gould is a classical pianist, but he breaks all the rules. But he knows that he's breaking them, right? But he's looking for something else. When he does the Goldberg variations, when he does the Bach well-tempered clavier, whatever he's doing, he knows the rules and he's breaking them for a reason. And that's what we're doing with Neo-Neapolitan. We know the rules of VPN. I studied under Roberto Caporuscio, AVPN at Castell, right? So I understand what the rules are, and then I choose to use some and not others. So today we're going to be using this King Arthur all-purpose. We're going to do a 50-50 mix. So this is a malted flour. All right, so 50% of the flour will be malted and 50% of the flour will not be malted. So the flour that I'm going to be baking with, all of it is unmalted flour, all of it. So we're not going to get quite as much browning as we will with this next batch. But I like to play around. Also, I did a 60% hydration on the other dough, and I'm going to go 62% on this because the King Arthur is slightly higher in protein.
And it can absorb a little bit more water.
It can absorb a little bit more water.
Great. Okay, right. So we're going to be using 50-50 of the 00 King Arthur and the AP King Arthur. Correct?
That's correct.
So,
and if you have something else, feel free to use it.
Yeah, guys, once again, open source pizza class, open source pizza party. We want to know, tag Noel in your Instagram pics after we make some pies, and let us know what you used, because we are trying to see all the different results.
And tag Leaven Foods. Leaven Foods will bring those guys on.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go.
Before you do, one last thing. Yeah. A lot of the people that we have been speaking with, they don't even use 00 flour. So I think the idea is to use a low protein flour, right? A little, maybe malted, maybe not, right? And get the flavor from the nice gentle bake. Not the blazing 900 degrees, but maybe something between 650 and 700, right? Also, no buffalo mozzarella on this, right? We have a tomato sauce, but I strained it a little bit, so it's not going to be so watery. So we'll get into that later.
Great.
All right?
Great. All right. So I want to encourage everybody, if you're going to be following along, if you're going to be mixing, get your crayons, get your pencils, get your pens, because we're going to go over this recipe right now. So Noel's Leaven Foods instant sourdough, Neo. Okay, so flour is at 100%, and that is 50-50, a blend of the AP and the 00, both King Arthur.
Sir, yes, sir.
And you said water. Last week it was at 60. This week it is going to be at 62%, everybody. That means we're going to have 620 grams. Noel already told us it's going to be at room temperature. Noel, can you tell me what your room temperature water is right now, or tell me what your room temperature is?
I will in 1 second.
Okay.
Let me see if I can.
Oh, there we go. Docam, everybody. This is the interior of the big bowl. We think it's a 5 kilo. 5 kilo. I said quart last time, but I was wrong. 5 kilo. Okay. You look like we're very close in the bowl today.
We're a little close in the bowl. I had to move a few things around to make a little more room. All right. We're close. Don't worry. You'll see it.
Okay. You'll see it. Then we're at 3% salt, everybody?
Yeah, 3% salt.
3% salt. And then we are with our microbes. We are at the equivalent of 5% levain. Or 0.05% IDY. And Noel is going to tell us how many grams. You said 3.25 grams of the Leaven Foods.
All-purpose Leaven Foods.
So we're doing the AP.
Instant sourdough.
IS.
Yeah.
APLF APIS. Leaven Foods All-Purpose Instant Sourdough.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so let's do some temps real quick. You know I love temps.
Yep.
So what I'm looking at right now is 75 degrees room temp.
RT equals 75 degrees.
75 degrees flour temp. And
FT equals 75 degrees.
Guess what my water temp is.
I'm going to say it's probably 75 as
How'd
well.
you guess? How did you guess?
I'm clairvoyant.
Good. So we're going to see if we have a higher friction factor this week than last week, because last week our friction factor was close to 0. Now, that had to do with a lot of things. When you mix a very warm dough, it softens it up and makes and brings the friction factor down. Down. So we might have a slightly higher friction factor this week, and that's what I'm depending on, because we have a little bit of American flour, right? A little stronger.
So colder is one thing. Stronger flour is another. What else?
We're going to do about the same mix time, give or take. We'll see.
What was it? It was 5 and then 15. So we were right?
Yeah. And generally speaking, when I've worked with Neapolitan or Neo-Neapolitan, most people are mixing between 18 and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Not in a Hobart, in a nice slow spiral or a double diving arm or a fork mixer.
Okay.
18 to 20 is the general tradition.
And just real quick with this mixer, guys, there are 2 options. You can mix by percentage or you can mix by RPM. Noel, which one are you using and how fast are you going to be mixing this dough? Or what speed?
60 RPMs, just like last week.
Okay, so that's at 60 RPM with this one, this specific model for this. So that's it. 1,000 grams of flour, 50-50, 620 grams of water, 3% salt, and 3.25 grams of, that'd be 30 grams of salt, and 3.25 grams of LFAPIS. Hope everybody got it.
Good. And so just before we kick off, I just want to let people know, I know there are people here who have taken a bunch of our classes, and in our usual classes, we go through everything. So we go through the mix, we go through stretch and folds, we go through balling techniques, stretching, topping, baking. This is not quite that. This is about a 2-hour class as opposed to a 4-hour class. So the most important thing that we're spending time on is the mix, right? And all of the elements of the mix, defining the style. And then I'm not going to be showing people how to ball dough. I'm going to assume people know that. I might do a stretch and fold just for fun, right? And I'm only going to bake off 2 or 3 pizzas because I know everybody here knows how to make pizza. All right?
I think that is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
All right, Justin. So don't let me mess anything up, all right?
Okay.
So here's what we're going to do. Water first. Yeah.
Everybody, you guys can watch. Noel, put the H2 the Izzo in the bowl. Water first. You like to do that because it just... Why?
I find that it sticks less.
Okay.
All right. So I've already measured out my 2 types of flour, so that's going in next.
Okay. So, and that's all the flour in at once?
All the flour in at once.
Okay. So 1,000 grams of flour into the bowl, everybody.
Yep.
The 50-50. The 50-50.
Good. All right. Now, I have my microbes, and I also have my salt, but I'm going to withhold those.
They're going on vacation over by the microwave, everybody, because you know the deal. For 5 minutes, we want to get that incorporate dough.
Right?
Incorporate dough. What did I used to say? I have a fun little note here. It says, that's not it. I have fun notes.
Always.
Anyway.
Justin, what time do you have?
I got 5:39. You want to say 5:40?
Let's call it 5:40.
5:40.
All right.
5:40. Mix begins. 5 minutes, everybody. 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I'm going to set a timer for 5, and let's do this.
Great.
I said, let's do this.
Here we go.
Boom.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Good.
Okay, so we got a really good question. Lauren's asking, do you use oil? Why not?
Excellent question. So in Neapolitan, I would say no. And in Neo-Neapolitan, I would say you can use a little bit of oil. But I wouldn't say a lot. I would say for New York pizza, you might find people using closer to 2 or maybe even 3%. None of the chefs that I've ever worked for went above 1% for Neo-Neapolitan.
There you heard it. You heard it.
Right?
So what would that would help relax the dough, right? But it would also, if you're
A
cooking,
little bit of browning, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of some. 1% ain't much.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
that's just a kiss.
it's just a kiss. You know, I remember the first guy that put 1% olive oil in a dough that I was consulting for. It was at Rose Cafe, and or the Rose when it opened. And I remember thinking, what is 1% going to do? And I got to say, he was using really beautiful olive oil. I could smell it.
Yeah.
I could smell it. Just 1%. But it was high quality. Justin, I'm going to get a little dough scraper. Don't go anywhere, all right?
Copy that. Copy that. Lorin, no, I don't think it would take away. You'd still do 62%, 1% oil. It's fine. It's fine. We'll ask Noel, but I've been doing, I mean, especially when you're doing baker's percentages, I don't think it needs to take away. Lauren asked, would that take away from the hydration percentage, Noel? And I was saying,
some people like to use the term relative hydration. For me, fat is fat, whether it's lard or oil or butter, and water is hydration. But I understand why people make the argument. I get it. I'm not saying they're wrong. Everybody defines their terms differently.
yeah, and if that's the way you like to look at your recipe and it works better for you, I mean, once again, I mean, whatever, there are rules, but like Noel said, we're coloring outside the lines.
Yeah.
Just be consistent. Just be consistent. Take your notes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm writing this stuff down for Noel.
Yeah.
So when we talk about it, we've got the notes.
Yeah.
Because we've said it a gazillion times. If you make the best pizza you ever made in your life, you're going to want to know exactly how you did it.
Yeah.
And if you didn't make the best pizza, if you made really crappy pizza, you're going to want to know what happened so you can avoid it in the future. So
that's what we say.
Yeah.
Now, also, I said it again. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you do not have 00 flour, whether it's Italian or American, it's okay. You can make great Neapolitan style or Neo-Neapolitan style pizza without 00 flour. But what you're going to want to think about is finding flour without malt, right? So that's why I used this Edison flour. It doesn't have any malt. That's why I use 00 flour, because it doesn't have any malt. And sometimes I like to use a flour like King Arthur or Central Milling, which does have some malt. And it gives it a little more strength. I think that's the term you used earlier, right, Justin?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to trap all that gas, because that gas is flavor. And sometimes a little extra strength in the flour. Like I made a dough a couple weeks ago, and I wonder if I have my, just for instance, I made a dough the other day.
Yeah.
And then the following week I added 5% more of the King Arthur bread flour to the mix.
Yeah.
And it was right where I was. It was at that sweet spot, because the one that I had before was lacking a little bit of that. I don't want it to be so eggshell bite through that you feel like you're not really eating anything. I want a little bit of that little
I get it.
So,
I get it.
Even 5% dialing in your recipe, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Right now I'm using Caputo, 00. I think it's the blue or the Americana.
Yeah.
I'm using the Trailblazer.
Yep.
I'm using the Glacier Peak, and I'm using AP and bread flour. So I'm using like a lot of different flours. Some are specifically in my pre-ferments. That's what I'm doing. Pre-ferment, I feed my sourdough specifically. Oh, that's 5 minutes, everybody, 5 minutes. Here's the question. I'll get back to I feed my sourdough. Here's the question: is there any Autolyse here?
I would say no. Autolyse is not part of the style of traditional Neapolitan, and depending on how you do your Neo, you could or could not do an Autolyse. I'm choosing not to.
Did Dan? I feel like Dan did an Autolyse. No.
He might have, but Dan is a magic man.
Yeah, he's
So-
coloring outside the lines for sure. What's our temp?
We're at 80 degrees.
Okay.
So that tells us that King Arthur flour is strong, right? So the King Arthur flour is 11.5 plus or minus quarter of a point, right? But the flour that I used the other day was 10 to 11, right? So that's like, let's call that 10 and a half plus or minus a half a point. So that makes a big difference, right? Also, the 00 that we used last week is, even though it's 12.5% protein, it's a lower quality, and I don't mean that good or bad quality. I just mean it's a more extensible type of profile, and so you're not going to get the same friction factors you're going to get with these flours.
It's
all right?
it's softer. I mean, right? I mean, it's softer flour, so it won't have as much pushback in the mixer. So what did we say that our DDT was for this, Bud?
Well, in general, I want to be between about 80 and 85.
Okay.
And what I know is that with such a low inclusion rate, even if I ended up at 90 again, right? Not the end of the world, because the room temperature is 75, and if I want, there's a nice
Stick it
breeze in
outside.
Santa Monica right now, and if I were to open my blinds, I could get it down to 65 in here, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a room temperature rise. And also, sourdough functions so much differently than commercial yeast. You can miss your DDT by 5 or 10 degrees. And as long as you bring it down within an hour, even 2, you're good, especially at such a low inclusion rate.
Great.
All right?
Good. Yep.
All right, so let's do this. I'm going to add my magic microbes in.
Okay. Everybody see those.
They're beautiful.
I'm going to spotlight that. Going in there. The magic microbes.
They're in. So here's the idea, Justin. I'm going to mix for about another 15 minutes, and I'm going to let the microbes mix for about 2 minutes. Then I'm going to add the salt, and then let the dough mix until I think it's where I want it to be. And because I haven't done this exact recipe before in this exact mixer before, we're going to kind of eyeball it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
We're going to be looking for stuff. Great. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and start that. I'm going to start a timer for you.
Good. And here we go, sir. On your marks, get set, let's go.
Okay. All right. Set for 15 minutes. And we got a question here. The water temp for this recipe, what Noel did for this recipe, he was just doing room temp was 75 degrees, flour temp was 75 degrees, and the water temp was also 75 degrees. He was just doing a room temp or ambient temperature.
Now,
yeah.
And because this is the first time I'm doing this exact recipe with these exact flours with this new mixer, the first time you do it, you're going to learn. And so let's say we come out 5 degrees hotter than I think I want to. That means that I'll use colder water next time.
And so that dictates, I mean, we're learning, because every mixer, every recipe, every flour, even, it's going to have a little bit different, once again, variables in the Pete's equation. It's going to affect, just like Noel was saying, the water temperature, the flour stuff. All this is going to affect your friction factor. And the fact that we're mixing in a spiral mixer versus a KitchenAid or a planetary, Noel, tell me, I mean, a KitchenAid or planetary would have a lot higher friction factor than this. And why is that? Can you help me understand that a little bit? The spiral mixer
because
is
the
much
bowl,
more
the bowl,
gentler.
the bowl is moving and the mixing arm is moving in the same direction, so that lessens the friction.
The friction, right? Which is why it's called the friction factor, which means how much your heat, which means how much the temperature rises in your dough during your mix.
Yeah.
So,
So right now we're almost at 2 minutes, so I'm getting my salt ready.
Okay, so why do you add the salt after the yeast? The
Tradition.
microbes?
Tradition.
Yeah.
You want to get the, do you have to do it? No. Do people that I love and respect not do it? Yes.
Yeah.
But this is the way I was taught, and this is the way that I do it.
So, Frank, thanks for that question. So we're using the Leaven Foods instant microbes. So we're not using yeast this time. Usually when we do use yeast, we use instant dry yeast. It's the staff red. And the way we weigh that is we use what they call a jeweler's scale. If Noel, do you have your little scale right there, please? It's just a little teeny scale. It's used for weighing small amounts of
and it's accurate to 5/100ths of a gram. That's the most important thing.
And you can find those. Just say it's a jeweler's scale, or otherwise known as a drug scale. Not that anybody's into that kind of stuff anymore, because everything's
not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But you can definitely find that on. And I think the one that Noel has is a Taylor, and they're not very expensive.
Under $10.
It's like $10 or $15. Who knows what the way prices are right now? But it's very easy to get on Amazon. Just a little teeny scale. I have one that I keep in my backpack for travel. I also have one that I keep in my kitchen here. So
Justin, we're like twins separated at birth.
I know. My pizza wife here, and we also travel with our thermometers. Have one in my backpack and one in my kitchen drawer.
Good boy.
Sure,
I didn't even know that about you.
So yeah, you got it.
They almost tried to take it off me at an airport once.
Oh yeah, you could be poking people's eyes out. Yeah, they wouldn't let me take. I went to visit my family on the East Coast. We went to South Carolina, and if you're driving through South Carolina, you got to go to south of the border. And if you go to south of the border, like the world's biggest tourist trap, you got to pick up some switchblade combs. You know what I mean? So I do not. I picked up a bunch of switchblade combs for the kiddos to bring back. They would not let me bring the friggin' switchblade combs. The south of the border switchblade combs back on the airplane. I said that they were crazy. They said, sorry, dude. I lost 6 switchblade combs, but enough about me.
How much did that cost you?
Probably like $17. It's not much. But then I was able to get them on Amazon. So I'm part of the problem, guys, not part of the solution. Let me just go back to what I was saying about my mix. So I was telling Noel this. I usually feed my sourdough with the Trailblazer Type 85. And it's good. I think it really likes it. But it's not as active always. It takes a long time for it to digest that Type 85. For some reason. I don't know. Maybe I need to up my schedule. But now I've started doing half of the Caputo and half of the Glacier Peak, which is a Cairn Springs, and it seems to love that. And that's just for the levain. So I'm feeding it with Trailblazer until I need a levain. Then I'm feeding it with 50-50 of that. And then the rest is, I think, 35 or 45 bread flour and the rest AP. So
looks like we have a question from Kyle in the chat. You want to see what it says?
When mixing in a commercial setting, thank you, Kyle, is augmenting or helping the dough incorporate with a spatula or a scraper usual practice? Absolutely. You can see Noel. Oh no, he's saying no. But you can see Noel scraping the sides all the time. Yeah.
Well, so I would say it's highly unusual if you have a high quality spiral mixer. The mixer does all the work, but you should always have one around because you never know when a little bit of flour is going to get stuck.
Yeah, I always feel like when I put my salt in, I got to kind of scrape it off the breaker bar there a little bit.
So here's the other thing. Also, not all spiral mixers are created equal, and so just in case, I always put my water first, and that helps. I've mixed on some low-rent spirals where they put the flour in first, and some of that salt and some of that flour never gets incorporated.
Never gets incorporated. Yeah. Kyle, hopefully that answered your question. But yeah, I always have a spatula.
Great question.
I always have a spatula, and I was telling Noel what's kind of fun about this. I've never used a spiral mixer until this one. I have one of those long, thin spatulas that you get with a Vitamix, and it works really well to kind of scrape the sides. You just kind of hold it there, and it'll scrape the sides as it goes, because the like I said, the bowl is rotating, and it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
Justin,
No.
I'm not gonna stop the mixer, but I am gonna temp my dough using my infrared. And so one thing interesting right now, and I knew this would happen, is that I'm getting a little bit of cool air coming in through the window.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? The temperature is dropping.
Going down, yeah.
Temperature's dropping, and
That's
that happened last week a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good note, everybody, for not only this augmenting your dough, but also the spiral mixer does a really good job of incorporating the air into the dough, right?
Yeah.
It does a much better job incorporating the air, say, than a planetary. So you can really use those. That's a great little way to bring it down. Frank is asking, and this is a good question. This is a really good question.
Is there ever even such a thing as a bad question, Justin? I don't think so.
I really, I learned to mix with you on a KitchenAid mixer, and now I'm mixing on this. He's asking, what would be the same as 60 RPM on a KitchenAid? Like,
you'd have to count. You'd have to count.
Stir. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I actually think if I had to say, it would probably be closer to second speed.
Really?
Yeah. So what I do is I take my phone and I do a videotape of 10 seconds. I count the RPMs and I multiply by 6, and that's the RPMs for 60 seconds.
So there's a little hack there that you can.
That's what I do. And you know what? I'm not even sure that every KitchenAid is the same amount of RPMs.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. So I know that every spiral is different. I know that every planetary is different. I know that every fork mixer is different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would even say, the KitchenAid, I think the 4.5 and the 5 quart have the Captain Hook, and then you get into the 6.5s, they have the curly Q. So I would assume that that's going to be a little bit different too. So yeah, Noel's hack is always like, I have blue tape on the outside of my bowl from when Noel was doing that, and he's like,
you still have it there?
Yeah. I put a little.
It helps to count, because here's the thing: when I tested this mixer before it came out, and the first thing I did was like, well, they say it's 345 RPMs. Let's count, and it was going around so fast. I'm like, I can't count.
Right.
So I put the blue tape there, and I was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, like that. Did you get that, Justin? You see what I was doing there?
I did.
You don't look impressed.
No, I am. So you were kind of Rain Manning it by feel.
It was too fast.
Yeah. That's great. Because I tell you, so this thing, the lowest speed is 60 RPM, and then I think what Noel was saying, it goes up to like 345 RPM. So it's pretty.
I wanted to see if it was really 345.
So speaking of 345,
yeah.
Last week Neo, this week Neo. Next week.
Oh, next week.
New York. Okay.
It's going to be awesome, and we're going to bring Cameron and James back to discuss that, because we have.
Okay.
We talked about it a little bit in past weeks, but we have some pre-ferments that we're working on, where you can use your wild yeast or your sourdough microbes to make a pouliche or a biga, an actual levain, if that's your mojo.
Great.
So
that's really
excited for that.
Yeah. So next week is the inclusion. Are we planning on doing a biga or a pouliche?
So we're going to allow people to do. I would say that I will most likely mix with a pouliche, but I will instruct people how to use the straight microbes just like we did today.
Gotcha.
And so it should be about twice the amount. So instead of 3.25, it'll probably be 6.5.
Now, if people want to do a pouliche, which is 100% hydration and a very minuscule amount of
such a small amount
instant dry yeast, or in this case, Noel's going to be using either the AP or the sourdough or the wild. Okay, so we don't know yet. Would you tell everybody? You're going to blast it out on Instagram. Hey, everybody, Make your poolish now. It's 17 hours
No,
before.
no. I'm gonna. So here, my job this week is I need to do a 4-hour, an 8-hour, and like a 16 or 18-hour poolish, and I want to see how they behave. James and Cameron have already done that,
Okay.
and so they've given me some numbers. I just need to verify their numbers. And here's the thing, and this is something that I think people get a little stuck on. Even myself. I look at TX Craig's chart. I look at a recipe from Advanced Bread and Pastry. I look at a recipe from Dan Richards, and I get different results and times, right? There's so many elements that go into what accelerates or decelerates the fermentation. The flour, the hydration, obviously the temperature, right? So many things. Even 1 degree of temperature change can make a huge difference.
Right.
1 degree. Can you imagine?
No, I can.
Yes, you can.
Certainly. Oh, I can imagine. So I got about 2 minutes left here on this mix. Are you peeping it? How's it looking? Can you tell me what you're seeing?
So here's the thing. This dough, just like the dough last week, is on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of gluten development. It's barely a 5.
Okay, I was going to say a 3.
Yeah, it could be a 3.
Yeah.
I'm not putting my fingers in it, but we'll stop it at 15 minutes, and that doesn't include the first 5 minutes of the mix. And I would say no matter what level of gluten development we're at, we're going to take it out of the bowl, we're going to temp it, we're going to start bulk fermentation, and I'm going to start doing stretch and folds. You could do them at the half hour, you could do them on the hour. I'm anticipating anywhere from 2 to 4 hours of bulk fermentation on this dough.
Great. And so you're going to do 2 to 4 hours at stretch and folds at 30, 60, 90, 120 till you say it's done. It's going to sit out for a total of 4 hours.
2 to 4 hours, depending.
4 hours, and then you're
bulk
just going
retard.
to put it, and that is room temp-ish, maybe on the porch overnight.
Yeah. So
I have, like he was saying, 60, low 60-ish.
So if you look on your weather app on your iPhone, it'll tell you, all right, if you had one. It'll tell you, all right, right now it's 67, then it goes down to 66, 65. When it gets to midnight, it's going to be 62.
Right. I've got 58 at midnight tonight. 1 a.m. is at midnight. There 56. You go.
So that's one thing you could do. That's one way to do it. You could also find the coolest room in your house. That's usually my office.
Yeah.
But that's usually around 65 if I leave my window open, right? And so there's a lot of ways to do it. I also bought a $99 wine fridge down here, which I'm pretty happy with.
Nice.
And that's accurate to within 1 or 2 degrees.
And what is that set at, bud?
Right now I have it set at 61, so it's hanging out around 63.
Great. Good deal. All right, I got 10 seconds left. You want to get your Cambro ready?
I sure do it.
Right.
I have the olive oil in it. I just need to spread a little bit of love.
So basically, what we like to use, that's my 15-minute timer going off. So that's it. The mix is done. So everybody, Noel likes to use 4-inch Cambro with the loose lid. So if the gas really wants to escape, it can. But I want to see. And
so this is a Cambro half pan with a loose lid. It just sits on top. It does not lock. Right? You want to be careful about using like Tupperware brand where it actually locks. You want the burping and the farting to be. You want the air to be able to escape.
The burping and the farting. So we're gonna get this out of the bowl. Drum roll, please, for the temperature check. Please.
Drum roll, please. What do you think, Justin? What do you think?
I know we were at 80. I bet you it's 76.
81.
Oh shit.
81. So we started at 80 and it went up 1 degree.
Yeah.
So very low friction factor, just like the last dough, right?
Oh.
And so if we wanted to, for me, one of the things that I love about this style of mix is that you're not trying to do all the gluten development in the bowl. And to me, when you have such a simple dough, right, you've got flour, water, salt, and beautiful sourdough. I'm not putting any sugar in. I'm not putting any olive oil in. I just want to taste. I want to maintain the integrity of the dough. And the best way to do that is to undermix it, right? I'm like a broken record, and then finish by hand. So let's say we finished, 2 minutes ago?
Yeah.
I'm going to say bulk at 6:02 p.m.
Great.
Pacific Standard.
I set a timer. We're 30 seconds in on half an hour for you.
Good.
Give or take.
And I'll back you up just in case. I'll set mine for...
There we go. Wise
29
man.
minutes.
Wise man.
All right, so Justin, let's talk about the game plan from here on in.
Okay.
I'm going to get the dough out of the bowl.
Smart.
All right. And I'm gonna spread the olive oil around just a little bit. And you're gonna let me know when we're gonna get to the first stretch and fold. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go check on my oven, see where we're at. I'm gonna set it for that first bake maybe around 650.
Okay.
Maybe on the second bake I'll go 700. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see how same pie. Or
same, yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep it real simple on the pies. So I'm very veggie forward these days. So what I've got here on deck is I've got some Bianco de Napoli tomatoes, right, which I've gently seasoned. I've got some
yellow can, or?
No, this is the blue can, already crushed. So I'll make a margarita with that. And I've got some Ferndale Farmstead mozzarella. This is a Fior di Latte.
Oh, cool.
Thank you to them. They've been helping us out. We have a promotion that we're doing with Cairn Spring Mills. So for those of you who are not already signed up for their newsletter, you should check it out. We've got some really cool recipes coming out. Very cool recipes. I'm very excited where we use some of their flour.
Nice.
Justin, would it surprise you to know that I did 100% hydration recipe for these guys?
No.
Anybody that knows me.
I've heard you talk about your 100%, 110% over.
I
and
know.
Over.
And
it was, and everybody at the Pizza Expo, they loved it. They couldn't.
People were making
it.
No, they didn't love it. They were making fun of me. People love to make fun of me.
And I just did a simple cauliflower pizza, and everybody, they were losing their minds. People.
Oh, Justin, now you're mocking
me. I've heard it all before.
You are mocking me. You're mocking me. I like when you mock me, Justin.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I keep you around.
Good.
I like when you mock me. I like when my wife mocks me. I like when my sister, my mother, all the people I love, when they mock me, I know what it is. You're not making fun of me. You're loving me.
That's right.
That's how you show your affection.
My pizza wife.
There you go. All right, so we have a temperature. The one thing I will do is I will do a little bit of a window pane test.
Okay. Once
I get it out of the bowl. All right?
Very gently getting it out of the bowl. Huh?
Good. Yeah. So let's see. This dough that I am going to bring out next is very similar, as I said, to the dough we just mixed. It's got slightly different flours. It's got a little bit of that Cairn Spring all-purpose, little lower in protein. So it's I made 3 pizzas with it yesterday, and they came out great. Great. Really, really, really happy with it. So
how long had that dough been? Can you just walk us through
yesterday's dough?
Yeah. Was yesterday the same dough as today, or?
Yeah, I used 60% hydration, and I didn't use the King Arthur flour. I used the Cairn.
So, but these 3 balls, that's a different mix.
These 3 balls are the same. It's the same mix. Here's what I did. I brought the dough out at 12 noon, and I didn't bake until let's see. When I say I brought it out, I didn't really bring it out because the room temperature was It was already 76. Yeah. So, and that was at 6. Let's see. It was at 6:30 a.m. when I woke up. It was at 67. So by the time noon came around, it was at around 76. So it was just a room temperature ambient rise. So let's see. At 6:30, when I first checked it. And at 6:30 a.m., that's yesterday morning, it had been fermenting for just 12 hours.
Right. Okay. So you did a 12-hour fermentation, and now
Yeah, and then I divided nice and early in the morning, 6:30, and then I let it sit around for a good 8 more hours.
Mm-hmm. So you did let it bulk. How long was the bulk on it?
So the bulk was 12.
Okay.
And then I went another 8.
Wow.
And Santa Monica's weird. It's June gloom. It's June gloom already in May.
It was 1,000 degrees this weekend, and now it's like 60 again. So it's 50.
So like
it'll be 54 tonight. So
the sun comes out and it goes up to 80. Then the sun goes away and it nosedives and it's 67 and breezy. So it's sometimes difficult.
Good.
All right. So let me do this.
If it were easy.
Well, here's the thing. What you got to do is you got to write everything down, and you got to use the law of averages, right? Not too difficult.
Yep.
A third grader could do it, and just kind of like retrace your steps, just in case, as we like to say, you make the best or worst pizza of your life. That was a good one. I brought it to my sister's house, and we reheated it. And usually when you reheat Neapolitan, you are in bad shape. But when you reheat a Neo-Neapolitan, whoo!
Yeah.
So good.
I'm sure those microbes are so nice, just bringing the flavor back.
So good. And nobody complained that it was too sour.
Good.
All right, let me bring this into the sink. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Copy that. Copy that. All right, everybody. So Noel is going to bring these doughs over. He's going to move his mixer, and then we're going to be making way for a little stretching and topping station for a couple bakes. Yeah, I want to get that first pie in, and then maybe when you're putting that first pie in. Here we go. Here's a window pane, everybody.
Yeah, we're going to do a little window pane. So the dough is strong. That's because it's such low hydration, 62%. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's actually. I mean, it looked pretty tacky.
Yeah, but that looks pretty good. I mean, Noel likes to mix everybody to about 60%, and then we finish with the stretch and folds. So we're not over mixing. We're not mixing out the flavors and the colors,
would say
the
this
aroma.
Is actually closer to 75%.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. So I would say this is not going to need more than 2 stretch and folds. Yeah. Plus, because we're not balling tonight, because we're gonna ball tomorrow.
You're getting extra strength.
Extra strength from the extra long bulk. All right.
You hear that, everybody? So when you bulk ferment everything together. You don't ball the secondary bulk. It helps to create some strength in the dough.
Oh, so, yes.
If you overmix by accident, maybe you don't do a bulk fermentation. You let it sit out for an hour and then you bowl.
Justin, we don't overmix by accident, do we?
I overmix by accident.
Yeah, well, that was it. It's very rare.
There's
very rare.
You know, variables in the pizza equation. Once you
very rare, Justin.
Once you start messing around.
I trained you to undermix. The only reason that you overmixed that one time is because it was a brand new spiral mixer.
Yeah.
Tell me, before you were using this Uni Halo, how many times had you mixed on a spiral mixer?
Never.
Aha!
No, I don't think I had ever mixed on a spiral mixer.
There you go. So that's perfectly understandable, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It was, and it's interesting to me because in my mixes, I have a high friction, or I think my friction factor is like 7.
Well, what speed are you at?
I'm doing 120 for 3 minutes.
Pretty fast.
And then I bump it up to 175, and 185 is where I finish.
And I can't even keep track of what you're doing over there because you got so many different flours, so many different pre-ferments. I created a monster in you, that's for sure, Justin. Yeah,
I'll show you guys what the dough is.
Chad Robertson would be like, that guy uses how many pre-ferments?
Hold on, yeah. Well, I used to use a pouliche but I've stopped using the pouliche. So if anybody wants to see, we had some nice pies this weekend.
Let's see what we got, Justin. Let's see what we got.
Boom. Wait, no, it was this one. Boom. Here we go. Whoa.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Whoa. Can't see. Where am I?
All right, Justin. How about this? Why don't you play with your little green screen for 2 minutes? I'm gonna do some housekeeping. I'm gonna get my mixer put away. I'm gonna move, get some things cleaned up, and I'm gonna get ready to make some pizza. What do you say?
Great. I love it. I love it.
All right, good.
So this was a pie that we did on. This was a pie we did on Saturday. It's looking pretty good. Little cups. I'm using the Rosa Grande because I can't get Izos anywhere. They're too expensive. I think it's spinach, pepperoni, maybe some red onions on there, maybe some jalapenos. So it was good. It was good stuff. Good pie. Good pie. All right. Changing it back. Oh, there's my sourdough going crazy, blowing up everywhere. And here I am back at the end of a Looney Tunes cartoon, just where everybody wants to be. That's what Bugs Bunny always says. He says, was it, we got a Q&A question here. I think we answered that one. Bugs Bunny says, you take life too seriously, you'll never make it out alive. So remember that. More pizza parties. Pizza for the people. And everybody look at Noel's thing. You see that bottom? That is that drivetrain. So you can see that it looks like a record player right there. Yeah, look down in the bottom corner there. I'm gonna spotlight that one. If you look down there under his little, I don't think anybody can see me, but it looks like the record player. So the bowl fits down into that, and it's a really pretty strong drive train to keep that bowl spiraling. Guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to toss them into the chat. Again, thank you for hanging out. If you want to drop your credentials into the chat, share where you're at, share what type of pizza you like, put your Insta handles or whatever you want. We always love to check that out. I'm off the Instagrams though. Sorry. I will look at it, but I'm not signing it, which they make it harder to do these days. Anyway, enough about me. I know that you guys came here to hang out with me, talking while Noel piddles around. Let's get this boat on the show. Come on. Here he comes. All right. There's the Dog. The little lights, the little LED lights that are on there are really fun too. They really help you to see down into your bowl. It's a pretty beastly little machine. I gotta hand it to him. Truth be told, I get rid of my original uni, my little 12er uni Coda, the original one, the first one, 12-inch, average size pizzas. I think I sold it on Facebook Marketplace. Pre-pandemo, maybe during the pandemo. I don't know. But now I use the Breville Smart Oven, which is okay. It only goes to 480. I wish, but I have a nice little steel in there. It's like a countertop. It's like a toaster oven. Only goes to 480. Only 480. But I got a nice steel, 3/8 inch, 13 inches. So I can do a 13-inch pizza in it. It's pretty nice. 12, yeah, I know, Mike. 12 inches average, That's what I always say. It's my joke. Average size. No one says little in my household. I always say average size. Gah. Trying to keep them smiling. That's all we can do. Trying to keep them smiling. Pizza for the people. Pizza for the people. Party people. Where are my parties at? Where are my pizza? Have pizza will party. All right, Noel. Come on now. There we go.
All right, Justin, you've been holding down the fort?
Yeah, I think everybody's bored. Everyone left.
That's so sad.
I know.
Well, I hope some people come back.
Yeah, I think everybody's gone.
You lie. There's a lot of people out there.
They don't want to hang out with me.
Let's do this. So let's move this around so you see more of what I'm working with.
Wow, you can move. Your
All
little
right, so
jammer.
let me show you what I've got in my little space here. So I've got a bowl of 00 flour right here, and that I'm going to use to just gently coat the dough as I take it out of the container.
Just 00.
Just 00. Some people use semolina. I am going to use some semolina here. I've actually got two different kinds.
Interesting.
I like this one right here is the Caputo semolina, which
The
is
semola.
no, it's actually this is a actually no, you're right. This is the semola. This is the flour, not the semolina, but it's very fine, very fine.
The little yellow bag, is that?
Yeah, and then this one right here is a semolina mix that I like.
Okay.
I mixed it myself. So this one actually has some central milling semolina, and guess what else is in here? A little bit of rice flour.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. I love that.
So the thing is that I don't like for there to be a lot of stuff on my peel, but you want to make sure that you have enough stuff on your peel so that it doesn't stick.
No, we don't. We're not trying to make a calzone here, ladies and gentlemen.
So when I was first learning to make Neapolitan pizza, they were not using semolina, and now it seems like everybody's using semolina.
Oh yeah, I remember. Who were we with? Not Danny, but Angel. No, not Angelo. What was our first that? Don't just say no to shit flour. What was that?
That was that dude from Jersey. How could I blank on his name?
Oh my gosh,
he was great.
He was, but he's doing Neo, and I just remember his kitchen was just covered.
Well, he used a pretty wet dough, and he also liked to heat up his dough to like 80 degrees before he used it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was really sticky. He was doing a really
but it was beautiful. Dough. People love those pies.
Yeah, really good.
Oh man, I feel like such a jerk. I gotta go back.
Look them up.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a single dough ball. It smells sour, but it's not going to taste sour at all. The lighting's not great. How about
but I can see a little. Oh yeah, that's up, over. Yeah, okay.
We got some nice, and also if you see upside down, there's some nice fermentation going on there.
That's what I like.
So what I'm seeing is some nice little micro blisters, right? And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I happen to know that the pH is right around 4.1, which is where I want it. We specifically said we weren't going to talk about it, and I broke the rule. Right now, Cameron and James are like, that one.
We told him not to talk about it.
Couldn't help it.
New Trello. Trello's got an update, just so everybody knows.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Justin, you see what I'm doing here? I'm coming around to all the sides.
Are you using flour or no? Not really?
Not really. Just a little teeny bit of flour. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to turn it upside down. So one thing about the room temperature rise as opposed to like a cold dough is that it will be a little stickier, even at only 60 or 62%. All right. So now I've got my bottom side up. I'm going to turn it over. Beautiful. So this dough right here is firm, but at the same time, it's nice and soft. That's what I like for a Neo or a Neo-Neapolitan. Again, this one right here also is a little bit darker in color because it's got the all-purpose T85 from Cairn, which I really like. The first person that ever used a T85 in a Neo-Neapolitan that I knew of was Dan from Razza, but I think Chris Bianco was also using a combination of Cairn flours, including T85 as well. So there's some good flavor in there. Nice color too. Are you with me, Justin? Can't hear you. Where'd he go?
Sorry, I'm doing a little stuff in the background. I'm letting you talk here. I don't want to be on this video for a second. I'll jump back on in a momo.
That's all right. So I'm just kind of moving things around a little bit. I like to do like a little focaccia technique in the middle, just to move the air around. And I'm not really touching the outside. When I do a New York pie, I'll touch the outside a little more, but for this pie, not so much. All right. So that's the first part of the process. Then I'm going to go around and I'm going to try to, each time I'm pressing down at the edge of the cornicione, maybe half an inch away, turning the pie about 90 degrees each time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of that flour out of the way, because I don't like a lot of bench flour on the bottom of my. All right, now that we've got the cornicione basically where you want it, I'm going nice and slow so you guys can see what I'm doing. And instead of knuckling it, I'm just very gently creating a nice little piece of dough here, right? A lot of guys like to go real fast. I've never actually perfected the Neapolitan technique. Had I worked at a Neapolitan pizzeria like a lot of people for years, I probably would be as fast as everybody else. But I'm slow, and I'm proud of it. All right, so here's the thing. I'm not trying to make a 12-inch pizza because my oven is only 12 inches wide. So I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to give it a last little stretch. And the reason I'm doing this is just to get some of the flour off the bottom there. All right? Now I'm going to give it a little shimmy and a shake. Can you see my little shimmy shake there, Justin? Oh, boy. This dough is very extensible. Very extensible. So that's a combination of the all-purpose, which is 10 or 11%. That's where that extensibility is coming from, plus the 00. Mm-hmm. So this is a very, very, very soft.
Nice, pizza. Loose.
See where I got?
It looks good. Yeah, good shimmy, good shake. Everybody, we love those technique. Remember, do a little topping, do a little pinch.
I like to come around and just do a little bit of this. Some people don't do that. I just like a little bit of texture. You know me, right, Justin?
Oh yeah, we need that. We need a little crimping.
All right, so I gotta think about what I'm gonna do first. I think I'm gonna go a little crazy here. I'm gonna do something. So I love me some. I'm gonna take some zucchini that I sliced on a mandolin.
Whoa, you are getting crazy.
Yeah, I actually made this.
Are you sure you don't want to put pepperoni on there instead?
These are pepperonis. They're exactly like pepperonis, Justin.
Attilio,
that's our friend from New Jersey.
Yeah, that was a great class.
Yeah. So I started doing this technique when I started learning to make Roman pizza from Jim Leahy out of his beautiful book, and sometimes I put it on my Neo-Neapolitan pizzas. They're super thin.
Yeah.
These are like silver dollars. And these particular ones I'm not cooking in advance. So I'm just going to hit them with a little olive oil, a little salt, a little pepper. Look at that.
Wow.
Beautiful. All right. Got a few left over for snacking. And let's see. So one of the things I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of California olive oil.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of come around real quick. Beautiful.
Yeah. How about a little sal?
How about a little salt? I got a little gray sea salt right here. Can you see it? Cell green.
Yeah, that looks good.
It's good. Nice and rustic. Let's see, Justin. There's so many options. So many options. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some beautiful red tomatoes.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'll do another pizza where I use the Di Napoli red sauce.
Okay.
But I really like. I don't have any anchovies for this, but I do love me some tomatoes and some zucchini and some anchovies. They're definitely kissing cousins. Are you an anchovy fan, Justin?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I want it salty.
Yeah, salty is good.
Yeah.
So some of these guys, some of the tomatoes I'm turning up, and some of them I'm turning down. If I turn them down, skin side up, they might burn a little bit, which is not a bad thing.
No, we like a little char on there, yeah?
We do like a little char. I did a post. I'm going to take some of this olive oil tomato jus and do a little more.
Okay.
More is more when it comes to olive oil. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah,
Plus,
I mean,
this is a very, very, very sparse pizza.
and that's kind of like the olive oil that was in the tomatoes and stuff too. So it's going to have a
Yes.
little extra little love on it.
Oh, yeah. So this is
Yeah.
olive oil, salt, pepper, and there might have been a sprig or two of thyme in there at one point.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Let's see. Justin,
Yeah.
what do you think? You know what I'm thinking?
Talk to me.
I'm gonna get some. I'm gonna get some Parmesan cheese. What do you say?
I love it.
Little parm.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
So this is from Ferndale Farmstead Cheese. They were nice enough to give us some
Wow.
some beautiful cheeses. So I really like their parm. Really nice husband and wife team. They're out of Northern California. So far I'm enjoying their cheeses quite a bit. They gave me some provolone to play with, a couple different kinds of mozzarella. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag because we're going to be they're going to be featured on the Cairn Spring newsletter and website soon. So not allowed to post any pics, but I'm
No, don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I'm in enough trouble as it is.
Yeah.
All right. So Justin, this is looking good to me. Let's give it a little shimmy.
Ooh. Looks a little heavy.
Heavy but good.
Good.
All right, I'm going to turn this guy over because I don't want it to roll over in the oven. All right, so do me a favor.
Talk to me.
I'm going to start my
Timer.
You do the same.
What do we want?
Let me check my oven real quick because this guy it does something funny. I'll be right back.
Okay. So yeah, Attilio of Ava's Pizza. I'm trying to figure it out. Ava's Pizza. I think it was Staten Island. Staten Island? Is that right? No, maybe not. Sorry, guys. It's been a moment. That was one of our first. Videos we did a long time ago. Long time ago. How many minutes? Give me your jammer.
I would say this is probably going to be about a 3-minute bake.
I'm gonna go 3. You just did it.
Yep. So I'll probably go check it in about a minute and a half. Maybe give it a little turn.
Okay.
All right.
You need a little uni turning peel, huh?
Yeah. No, they didn't give me one. That's all right. I got plenty of peels.
Yeah. That's very appealing.
It's very appealing. All right, Justin. Let me get a few things down, ready to go. So when this comes out, it'll go right there, and we can have a look at it.
Cooling
it's
rack,
the first
rack.
pie. First pie. So we're doing this a little low. This is about 650. And we're not expecting a huge puffy cornicione because that's more Canotto style.
Okay.
Some Neapolitans, right? So we used a very low protein flour on the organic Edison. It's between 10 and 11. We don't know. Could be 10, could be 11. 10 is like pastry flour. But I gotta say, it was so soft yesterday, and it had just the most delicate eggshell crisp on the outside. Had some decent browning. So I was happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
What gives Attilio?
You live by the slide.
What does that sound, Justin?
I'm trying to look at the Attilio promo that we did back in the day.
Oh my God.
It's like a 6-minute promo.
We don't have time for a 6-minute promo, Justin.
No.
We got pizzas to make. We got to bring Cameron and James on.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh, that was McKellar. Boy, I'm going down an old rabbit hole here. My goodness.
Yeah, sure. Let me go look at the pizza. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Be right back.
Yeah. Attilio with sourdough. See if I can put some of these. Oh, these are great.
You don't like to use cold dough, like?
No. Yeah, he liked his dough at 83 degrees.
Like Noel said one thing.
This is Great looking pie.
Like Noel said,
Great looking pie.
Stan Mariano, that guy's got me.
Oh, here it is. Let's see if I can add. Oh, there it is. 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's looking good. It's looking good. It's going nice and slow. So this oven is down around 650 right now.
Okay.
The floor temp's closer to 625.
Right now,
Listening.
What are you doing over there? Are you going to share your screen, or are you just going to?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Are you? Are you,
Second.
Justin?
Yeah.
Really? Are you?
I'm planning on it. Do I have those privileges?
You do.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Justin, you can do whatever you want.
I'm trying it. Oh, this is the one. There it is. Hold on.
This better be good, because the build up here is a little bit.
Go get your thing. I'm gonna try to share this.
So wait, so that's the stretch and fold. That's the so.
Oh, that's the stretch and fold. Yes.
I owe you a stretch and fold. So
please.
How about this? You share whatever you're going to share, and I'm going to go have a look at this pizza. All right?
Okay, you go check the pizza. I'm gonna share this, and I'm gonna share the sound. It's mono. Sorry, guys. So hopefully everybody can see this. This is what I was talking about. All the semolina on this table.
Stan Mariano, that guy's got magic hands. Watch when he lifts it up, guys. He barely lifts it. He barely lifts it. See how it's dragging on the ground? That's what you got to do with high hydration doughs. Don't pick them up off of the table. Let the bottom drag.
There we go. That was it. Pretty big deal. Do I stop sharing? How do I do that? Uh-oh. There we go. I stopped it. It was great. Noel missed it. That was it? I can't hear you when your mic is up here.
That was it? I missed it already?
That was it. You missed it. You said he's got magic hands. But you'll see it. You'll see it on the YouTube.
I remember.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go grab my pizza.
Oh, I thought you just did. I'm sorry, guys. I'm also apologizing that Noel won't cut it open and show us the crust. I want to see some crumb. I want to see that crumb. Johnny Crumbo. Okay, Mr. Noel. Looks like he's got a ocean of. That's probably a mix of oil and.
Can you see what I'm working with?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
So why don't you? Are you able to?
Spotlight?
Spotlight this pie. So let me tell you exactly what's going on here. So here's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for dark leopard spots. That's kind of what I was looking for. I actually wanted maybe a little more color, but here's what happened. And this is because the oven is new and I'm learning. So the chamber itself seals in the heat and the moisture really well. So between the olive oil and the tomatoes and the raw zucchini, a ton of moisture was getting released.
Yeah.
So I've got some pretty good charring on the bottom.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard to see. Hold on. I don't want to tip over the whole bit. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It looks good. Yeah, good.
So the bottom is good. I didn't want to go any farther with that. And I could have used a little more browning, but I got to say, it's crispy. It's really beautiful. So this is going to end up being a really nice pizza. But now I know with this tiny little oven, with this tiny little chamber, you got to watch out. You got to watch out how much moisture is on the pizza, because if you have too much moisture, you're not going to get the amount of browning you might want. So
Gotcha.
if I had it to do over again, what I might have done is there's a dial on this pizza, and you can I had it even top and bottom. What I might have done is given it. Maybe I'll do the next one a little more top heat.
Okay.
A little more bottom heat, but I like the 650. The 650 was good. It ended up being closer to a 5-minute bake.
Okay.
But I don't mind it because the texture looks really good.
No, it looks.
So here's what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna make another. I'm gonna make another pie. The next pie is gonna be broccolini and a little bit of
Pepperoni.
No, broccolini. I'm gonna use some yellow tomatoes on this one, and some cheese and some garlic. And then what I think would be really cool is, since we don't need to talk through this. Maybe you can just take my word for it. I'll let you know when it's topped and ready. Why don't we see if Cameron or James wants to come on and we can chat with them about what we have in store for next week. We can talk a little bit about the possibility of doing a pouliche. We can find out where they are. I think they're going to have a spreadsheet ready for us by next week, so we can look at times and temps and maybe even hydrations.
You owe me a stretch and fold first, though, I think.
I do owe you a stretch and fold, so we're going to do that.
Show me a stretch and fold, and then get that cooling rack out of the way. And once you start making pizza number 2, your broccolini and pepperoni, I'll blue bell them. I'll blue bell them.
All right, good.
But first I want to see, I'm going to spotlight this, and I want you to kind of talk me through how it feels, please.
Yeah. So let's see. Usually I need to wet my hands, but this is a pretty stiff dough. So it's very soft. It's beautiful. It's super extensible. For a 62% hydration dough,
Yeah.
super extensible. So that's a combination of that 00 flour.
Uh-huh.
Also the fact that we undermixed it, right? So it feels really nice. So
Yeah.
it's definitely going to need a second stretch and fold because it's almost stretching more than I want, but not more. It's better to have a dough that's underdeveloped in the mixer and you finish it by hand. So this is beautiful now. Do you see how it's nice and smooth?
I do.
And then I just see one little blister here, and that tells me that I've got some gluten development, just a little bit, and I've got a little bit of fermentation happening, not a lot.
Great.
All right, and then just for fun, because you know how I am,
Yeah, stick it.
let's stick it.
Let's do it.
So the temperature is dropping. It dropped down to 77 degrees. What were we at before, Justin?
81, I think, is what we came out.
Yeah, so also it is 6:40 in Santa Monica, and I can feel that the sun is beginning to set.
Yep.
Certainly in my neighborhood, there's a little bit of sun out there, but it's getting breezy.
Getting a little breezes.
So it's nice and cool here. You gotta love May in Santa Monica.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. All right. Well, who is Jimmy coming on? Is Cam coming on? Do we know?
I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing. They'll surprise us. We're surprising them. They'll surprise us. So how about this? I'm gonna grab some more dough.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a pizza peel.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And here's the thing. We don't really need those guys. They might be busy. Who knows what they're doing over there?
Well, speak for yourself. I need those guys.
For all I know, they went out for Thai food. For all I know.
I want to see Jimmy rocking his pizza master.
I know. He's being shy. I keep inviting him to mix with me, bake with me. He's a jack of all trades, that guy. Something of a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
He can cook, he can brew, he can climb a mountain, he can tie a knot, he can do so many things. He's multi-talented. I
hear he's got a mean wisteria too, I think.
I don't know what that means.
Isn't that big plant? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Leaven Foods.
Come on. No way.
Wow. Jimmy Gaffs. I can't hear you.
Hey, how's it going?
There he is. What you got going on there? You got some hoodies in the background, huh?
Yep, that's the merch, man. If anybody wants some of that merch,
come on, you know
get
where
it on the site.
You know where to find it.
Yep, they're very cool.
Can you show us one? Can you show us one?
Yeah,
I
sure.
might buy one. I might buy one.
I got my bag here, my swag bag. Now, they promised me that they were going to have Coos dogs because Unc Just like to be getting down and have a BL. You know the deal.
Let's see the front. It's got some graphics on the sleeve.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very fun stuff. So, Bud, I think you were on with us last week. You
I was
jumped on
on
at the end, so that was nice. So, why don't you bring us up to speed with what the game plan you're stinking for next week? Evidently, you and Noel have been stinking some pre-ferments, huh?
Yeah, I think that's it. But maybe before we do that, we can talk about we have a Neo-Neapolitan recipe on the site. Yeah, so it's similar to the one that Noel did this evening, but a little bit different.
Okay.
So if you guys want to check that one out, that one's out on the site, and it's got instructions for the all-purpose sourdough, instant sourdough blend, and the wild yeast. You can use either one. It's a 60% hydration with a 20 to 24 hour room temperature bulk ferment,
Very good.
and a 4 to 6 hour proof. So it makes really nice Neo-Neapolitan pizza. So a little bit different from what Noel did tonight, but that will give you a couple options.
Well,
Okay.
here, let me ask you a few questions. So when you say it's a little different, sounds like the recipe is similar, right?
Yeah, similar, I think.
So when you say it's different, tell me some of the things that in your mind make it different.
Yeah, so maybe the mix, it's adapted for the KitchenAid, so maybe the
Ah,
mix is a little bit quicker, but probably it's to the same level of gluten development.
yeah,
A little lower hydration, so it's 60 versus the 62 that Noel did
good.
here tonight. It is a split between the all-purpose and 00 flour.
hmm
Um,
When you say it's a split, what does that mean?
50-50 split
Oh, I
between
like it.
all-purpose and 00 flour.
Good.
And then it's we try to mix between 75 and 80 dough temp,
hmm
and then let that just rise for 20 to 24 hours at 72 degrees.
72 degrees. Now, how did you
72
keep
degrees.
your warehouse at 72? Is that just how you roll in San Diego?
I mean, the temperature is good here, but we have climate control, and it's in a small office here, so
Oh,
it
you
stays
have
pretty
climate
consistent.
control. I didn't realize you were so upscale over there.
Look at that. We have air conditioning. It's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Never
So,
dreamed of it. Very nice.
so yeah, come over and check that out. I think you guys will like that recipe, and it'll make a similar dough
Yeah.
to what Noel did tonight.
So do me a favor. I got some questions for you, Jimmy, if you don't mind.
I already put
Yeah.
it. I put that link in the chat, guys, to the Leaven Foods recipes
Good.
page, and they've got a couple other ones, but the Neo is there for sure. I'm gonna let you guys chit.
Good. So you've actually you've made the dough and you've actually done the bake, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your method. So for instance, when you baked it off, what temperature were you baking at?
We were baking it off here in the Pizza Master at set to 575, but that really means about 625 to 630 in the center of the
So
bed.
just a little lower than me.
Yeah.
And if you had to say, what was the bake time?
Oh God. Probably somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes, I would guess.
Okay, so I was
Yeah.
around 5.5, so
Yeah.
very similar.
Yeah.
And in terms of the overall texture, what did you come up with? Uh,
Yeah. Crispy bottom, crispy exterior of the crust, but soft on the interior, not too chewy, a little, good texture.
I like it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Leopard spotting.
Some leopard spotting, but nothing too crazy like you were saying, kind of some darker spots, but nothing too crazy. More, maybe a little bit more brown than the
Yeah,
crust you had tonight, but not much more.
yeah. Well, if I mean, I don't know what you were putting on your pizza. As I mentioned, I'm learning to use this oven with such a tiny chamber. I filled it up with zucchini, raw tomatoes, a lot of olive oil, and so it just filled the chamber with a lot of moisture. And so, if I had a vent, I could have vented the chamber and gotten a little more browning. But I'm learning as I go, so I'm not unhappy with it, but I needed a little more time, and the texture was beautiful.
Yeah.
Would I have liked a little more browning? Yeah, but I think it's going to taste great.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we got to talk about what we're gonna do next week.
We sure
So
do.
so I think Cameron and I have been working through pre-ferments here, both with the calculator, so people can calculate the amount of the instant sourdough that goes along with hydration and temperature for their pre-ferments, Polish, Biga, whatever that may be. And so next week, I think we're going to do New York pizza with pre-ferment, probably the all-purpose instant sourdough is what I would guess.
Got it. Now, for those people who are in attendance tonight, or for people who are watching on YouTube, can you catch us up on this whole idea of like using wild yeast or sourdough to make a pouliche or a biga?
Yeah, so I think with the wild yeast, it's pretty straightforward. It's very similar to what you would do with baker's yeast. Um, Although there's a conversion, between baker's yeast and our product. So you can get that through the calculator that will be on the site for your pre-ferment. But that'll make a traditional pouliche or a traditional biga. Use
Hmm.
it the same exact way as you
Hmm.
as you would a baker's yeast. With the all-purpose, it's a little bit different because it's bacteria and yeast, so it's a sourdough product. So you're not used to making kind of a pouliche using sourdough because most times you need a couple feeds. But with the all-purpose instant sourdough, you can make a pouliche, a sourdough pouliche, or whatever you want to call it. So just a single feed levain, pretty much. And same thing with a biga. So and then you would use them in the your recipe just like you would use a traditional pouliche or a biga.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be working with, this is going to be my first time this week in anticipation of next week's class, working with all of these pouliches that you've come up with. And I'm going to try to work on a 4-hour pouliche, which I think is about 80 degrees. I think there's a 7 or 8 hour pouliche, which is closer to about 70 degrees. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I'm going to try to work on a 16 or an 18-hour pouliche, which is much cooler, closer to maybe 60 degrees.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And you'll see what you get. I think they all might offer a little bit different in terms of activity and flavor, but we'll see how it goes for you.
Good. And the reason that I'm doing so many, or at least the reason that I'm going to try to do 3 different pouliches, is that what I'm trying to do is kind of test out the waters for our clients, because traditionally people use either a 4-hour or an 8-hour, or let's say a 16-hour pouliche. These are the norms, right?
Hmm.
Whether you're working in a bakery or a pizzeria. And so we're trying to replicate the norms and see what the results are. Are they similar? Are they different? Are there any differences? Like you were mentioning that the rises are a little different depending
Yeah.
on what your temperature is and what your length of time is. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what your findings have been so far?
Yeah, I think early observation of the pouliche made, at lower temperatures as you get a lower overall magnitude on your rise on your leavening. Um, than you would at 72 degrees or 80 at the warmer temperatures. Um, but we'll have to see what that means in dough. We don't know how that translates. We haven't been able to bake a lot with some of these pre-ferments. We've just been trying to study the pre-ferment themselves.
Good.
So, Noel, you'll get your hands on them with the data, and hopefully you'll see how they perform in dough. Maybe, that amount of rise that we see in the pre-ferment doesn't have any bearing on the final dough, or maybe it does, or
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens.
We'll find out. All right, do me a favor. I've got this beautiful broccolini pizza right here,
Hmm.
and I've got yellow cherry tomatoes. I've got some fior di latte. I've got some Parmesan. I've got some a little extra combination of olive oil and also the tomato jus, which I really love.
Wow.
And then a little bit of Parmesan on the finish. So let me get this into the oven. Will you start a timer for me there, Justin? And I will be right back.
Let me see. How many minutes? I'm going to go 4.
Yeah.
What do you think? 4 minutes on the bake, Jimmy?
Yeah, where's the pepperonis at?
I know, right? What is this guy doing? He's not showing us crumb shot. How was your crumb shot?
On the pizzas that I made here?
Yeah.
Yeah, not so bad, man. Very light and airy and exactly what you want. So hopefully that's what we can envision. That's what Noel's getting, right?
Yeah.
We can imagine it.
I want to see it. I want to taste it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. You guys are going to get me some Mikeys, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll have to do some testarinis.
Yeah, I think you'll have a good time.
Oh yeah. I'm always trying to coax a little bit more flavor out of it. Mike is saying he just got his first Levain tartine style bake going in the oven tomorrow morning.
Ooh,
So not pizza. No need to apologize. But that's exciting, Mike. We definitely we want to hear all about it on the old socials. Tag these guys in it for sure. So Noel, I gave you a 4 on that. Did you want more?
So I'm doing a 650 again, and I'm just turning up the top intensity just a little.
A squidge.
Yep. Also, I have fewer tomatoes, and I've got broccolini that's steamed, and so there should be a little less moisture coming off of that. I was kind of surprised that the raw zucchini had so much moisture rising off of it. James, I know that you're something of a culinaire, so you're probably not surprised at all. But there's a lot of water in zucchini, wouldn't you say?
I love zucchini, man, but
Me too.
A lot of water there. I don't know. Salt it and then maybe drain it before you use it.
I didn't either.
Smart.
I didn't either. I do that with tomatoes. Last night I did a similar thing, but what I did was I cut the zucchini like an inch thick, and I charred them within an inch of their lives on the grill, and I put those on the pizza. Oh,
yeah.
It's like the inside is like custard and the outside is just beautifully charred, and you get rid of all the moisture, or a lot of the moisture.
Oh yeah, Mike's saying salt and drain some eggplant.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
all right, hold on. Let me check my pizza. Been 2 minutes. Right. 1 moment.
All right. Good thinking. I always strain out when I do my tomatoes. I don't like to put all that moisture on top. I know Noel, he'll put the jus right back on top, but that makes for a wet pie. And I'm not trying to have a little wet pie. I want some crispy under. So how was the under on yours? It was pretty good, huh? You said
pretty good, but I mean, we got the pizza master here, so as long as you get that thing dialed in and it's not too hot. Yeah. If it's too hot, like a lot of times you'll burn off the first pie.
Yeah.
But if you can control it, you get it rolling, then you can get some really nice pizzas. Not way better, but significantly better than what you can do in home. Yeah. At least easier,
Certainly.
It's hard I don't know what you're doing, but like you get the steel and you get that preheated, and I mean you can do some pretty good stuff, but it's just harder,
Yeah, it's just that kind of just keeping the steel consistent. You don't the refire takes a minute before it needs time to warm back up again. But if I know a bigger steel, bigger stone.
That's why I have the 1.5 inch thick California pizza stone, because the refresh rate is just like nothing. Yeah. You're ready to go. Boom, boom, boom.
It seems to work. I mean, when I'm hanging out making pizzas with my friends, I'm not trying to do pizzas for service. There's a good bit of gabbing in between. So,
knowing you and your friends, I'll bet you there's a lot of gabbing.
Oh hell yeah! That's part of the gig, right? That's the communion part, the community part. So, that was my 4 minutes.
Checking. Thank you.
Yeah, copy that.
So if you get the microbes, Justin, you can make you get the instant sourdough. You can make your own pepperoni pie.
You're darn right. I will. Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it up.
Noel won't give you any satisfaction with the pepperoni. No, you're not gonna get it.
No, we used to do it back when if anybody remembers this Noel. Let me see if I can find my buddy. Hold on.
What a delicate balance. Unbelievable. I just turned the top up a little bit, a little less moisture on the pie. Looking good. Would you stop with that?
We used to put pepperoni on pizza back in the day.
It looks like I look like a human pepperoni right there.
I love that shot.
I'm so glad that my suffering brings you so much pleasure.
You look.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Whose crumb is that?
I don't even know. I just think I found that on the internet.
Someone's crumb shot. All right, I got to go check. It's been 5 minutes.
There we go. A little crummy. Keeping it crummy out here, everybody. Keeping it super crummy. Funny stuff. Not trying to make Noel feel bad.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to say, what did you make with the instant sourdough? We'll be interested in seeing it.
Yeah, he says he's got his a tartine style leaven tartine style bake going in the oven tomorrow morning. Tomorrow
Okay.
morning. So I'm assuming that that's a loaf of bread.
This is Mike Shoemaker.
Yeah. Yep.
Mike, nice to see you again, even though I can't see you. Good. All right. It's been 5.5 minutes. Here I go.
He keeps running back and forth and checking it. 5.5 minutes, 6-minute bake on this baddie. Okay, let's see it. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages. Here it comes. Ooh. Yeah, see, I like it. It looks like when you have the tomatoes on top, you get that, or with the bulbous side up, instead of the cut side up, you get a nice little char on that. That's nice.
So here's what's interesting. It's literally the exact amount of time, but because there is a lot less moisture, and I turned up the top intensity just a little bit. That's really what I was going for. No leopard spotting, but a really nice, crispy top, and the bottom is just a little lighter than before. It's really, really nice. If I could, I would probably split the difference. But
Okay.
this is a maiden voyage. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So how about this? Let's keep chatting, and while we're chatting, I'm going to make my last pizza, which is going to be a margherita, heavy on the fresh basil.
Oh, good. Now, are you going to cook the basil or basil under the cheese?
That is an excellent question. James, what do you like?
I don't know. I'll defer to Justin. He seems to be the basil.
Oh, don't this guy. Have you been to Italy, Justin?
I'll do both.
Oh, you'll do both?
Yeah. I put it on and then cook it, and then when it comes out,
I like both.
I'll put more
both
on
is fun.
You know, because I think what it does is it gives you two different textures. So
more is more, my friend.
Yeah, and then I put the stracciatella on it, and then I put the maldon, and then I put more of my tomato oil that I confit my tomatoes in, and then I'll hit it with some parm. Make it rain.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
Justin, I have a question for you.
Okay, shoot.
How long till the next stretch and fold?
I don't know. I didn't.
Well, hold on there.
When did it come out?
Justin, you're supposed to be keeping track.
I know. I didn't do that one. Sorry. Neo, was that at 5:40?
Oh my God! You're asking me? You're asking me?
Yeah. 5.
Justin, here's the thing. I can't fire you because I love you.
Yeah, you can't fire me. Can't fire me.
You're unfireable.
That's
So
right.
let's see. The dough came out at bulk started at 6:02. Are we close to 7:02?
7:02 right now. You owe me a stretchy.
Justin, I'm like a good attorney.
You are. You're
Never
like,
ask a question I already don't know the answer to.
Hey, just speaking of attorneys, sidebar.
What?
ChatGPT won our arbitration against
I love
Hyundai.
it. I love it.
ChatGPT.
How did ChatGPT win?
Because the arbitration. So real quick, our Hyundai took a shit.
This better be a tie back
It's a
into
good
pizza
one.
because
It's not.
otherwise it's just
It's
like
not.
it's
It's
not.
not. It's
Nothing to do with pizza. All right,
But-
go for it, Justin.
But ChatGPT.
Now we're going to lose their entire audience.
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone. ChatGPT, I put all the arbitration guidelines and all of our emails and all of our stuff and all of our timeline in, and ChatGPT just shot out our argument. And then when Hyundai came back and said, well, the this and that, and like before we even owned the car, they were blaming us for stuff. And we're like, we didn't even own the car then. Chat was like, I got your rebuttal right here. We won the arbitration. Hyundai has to replace our engine.
Yay! That'll play for a few pizzas, right?
Yeah, the pizza party. Pizza party, yay, look at all the stuff, yay. It was a real kick in the nards for a while there. But
I hear you.
ChatGPT came through for us.
Good.
So grateful for that. So anyway, sidebar. Sorry, back to you guys.
No, all good.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to make a margarita, and then that's going to be about the end.
Yep.
What do we want to say about coming weeks here? We're going to try to do a pouliche for the New York.
Okay.
And then after the New York, we're going to do a pan pizza, right?
Oh,
And we haven't decided what we're going to do for the pan pizza, have we?
I think maybe you mentioned Detroit, but we'll
Yep.
see.
Yep. So we don't know if we don't know what kind of pouliche if we're going to do a pouliche or a biga or a straight dough or a levain. We haven't done a levain yet, have we? That might be fun, huh?
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. We'll see.
What?
I have a funny feeling that my idea of fun, James, and your idea of fun might be a little different.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, so we're going to do the next couple weeks, yeah, of making more pizza.
Definitely.
We just keep going. Monday.
Yeah.
So today's the 12th. On the 19th will be New York. 26th, Memorial Day. Everybody remembers Memorial Day. It's the day I asked my beautiful wife to be my beautiful wife.
Come on.
Did it on Memorial Day, so I would always memorial it.
So you'll always remember it?
Oh, remember. That's what I memorial it. So, and then it's already June, everybody. Can you believe it? Oh.
That's the stretch and folds. I'm a little late. We'll get that. Let me get this in the oven.
Yes. What are you doing? Little dollops there?
Yeah, I'm doing dollops. I don't like to.
So, how did you strain the already the blues?
Oh, I'm not going to give you all my secrets.
Oh, you stinker.
I'm not going to give you all my secrets.
Yeah, you
Just
are.
some of them.
Yeah, you are.
Well, Justin,
Yeah.
how many different strainers, how many different chinois do you have in your kitchen?
I think I have 4.
Good. Then I'm sure you can do what I did.
Yeah. Just kept the straining, huh?
You know, I know what I want, and I know what the look of the sauce is that I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
So I let it sit. You have to be patient because this sauce strains slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that I like a lot of basil?
I love basil.
Oh, it's so good, especially when you put the basil on before. It cooks way down. Do you like a lot of basil over there, James?
Sure, man. Why not? It looks good.
Why not? It's going to be beautiful.
It looks good. Hey, Mike, I see that, you made going to make the sourdough loaf. Share that with us on Instagram or somewhere. It sounds awesome, so we'd love to see it.
Beautiful. All right, a little bit of parm going on. I'm going to give it a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to give it a little bit of fior di latte, and then it's going into the oven, and that'll be it. Where's Cameron today? Is he around, or did he take off to go make dinner for his wife?
He's around. He's just
What's
working
he doing?
hard,
That guy. He
He's
only
working.
has one mode: hard working.
Yeah, exactly. You know it.
I know it. All right. Looks good to me. I do have some garlic oil here, but I don't think you're supposed to put garlic on a margherita. I don't know. Maybe I spent too much time with Italians. You know what they say? Here's what they say in Neapolitan pizzerias. No garlic on anything with cheese. What? No garlic on anything with cheese. Rule. I worked at a pizzeria called Keste back in the day, and I remember somebody asked for some garlic on the margherita, and my mentor Roberto Caporuccio said no, and this gentleman would not take no for an answer, and he threatened to leave. And Roberto said, I hope you don't leave, sir, but if you find that you need to, there is the door. And they didn't leave. And they had a delicious margherita pizza with no garlic.
What's the problem with garlic on
I think
with
it's
cheese?
I think it's just tradition.
I love
really
it.
don't know. I really don't
Love
know.
it.
I'm sure there's something I don't know. There's always something I don't know. All right, let me get this into the oven. Justin, give me a 6-minute timer. All right.
Copy that. 6 minutes. 6 minutes. If I can just find the timer again. 5, 6. Great. Great. All right, everybody. Well, 7:08, almost 10 after 7. Hope everybody's been having a good time hanging out with us. Probably get a stretch and fold in here. Bring this last pizza out and probably wrap it up for the evening. Probably wrap it up. But I'm excited. These glasses, huh? Looks good. But I'm excited. I want to see some of your bakes, Jimmy. Are you going to be baking with us next week, or is Noel going to be running the
It's kind
show?
of chaotic if we both do it at the same time, but I can try if that's something people want to see, mixing on the KitchenAid and then having some doughs ready
Yeah.
to bake off here.
I love it. We'll ask the boss what he stinks on that.
What's that?
Yeah.
Who's the
If
boss,
we-
Cameron?
No, you. Whether
I'm the
you want to
boss?
see
What?
Jimmy do some mixing and some baking on that that pizza master down in Sandisi.
Well, yes, I would like him to, but he's so busy with so many things, you can't
Okay.
really insist. You can.
Susan is saying yes to the KitchenAid. I'm just
Okay, yeah,
I-
I think
yeah,
if
it
the
would be
people
nice.
want it, then we can give everybody what they want.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think when we get to the New York style, using a KitchenAid will be better
Oh.
for the more how can we say Italian-inspired Neapolitan and Neo-Neapolitan. I'm a strong believer in using as gentle a mix as you can, and I would not personally call the KitchenAid gentle. It's versatile, right? It's well built, right? It's a lot of things, but there's nothing like a spiral or a fork or a diving arm mixer for low friction factor. I mean, I mixed that thing for 20 minutes and I still didn't get it to 100% of gluten development. Try that with a KitchenAid.
no.
You just got to mix it for a shorter period of time, I think.
That's right. That's right. I've watched Italians watch people mixing on a Hobart, and they look like they're just writhing in pain.
Yeah.
It punches the dough instead of extending the dough. It's violent to them.
It's a brutal mix.
It is a brutal mix. It is a brutal mix. But yeah, New York's a brutal place. Although so is Naples. I don't know how to
How to square those? Yeah.
I do not know how to square those. All right, that's my 2.5 minute timer. I'll be
All right.
right back.
You're gonna check it and then maybe give me a stretch and fold. All right. All right. So what kind of pizzas did you end up making? You got the Brown dogs down there?
What type of pizzas did we make?
Yeah.
When? We made all the types of pizzas.
No, I mean, like what toppings do you use? You use pepperoni dog?
No, mostly we're making red pies because we just don't have toppings on hand, and a lot of times we're doing it for R&D, and you're not going to eat them, so we don't want to waste a bunch of pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear.
So we'll just top it with tomatoes just to make sure it doesn't, rise up in the center, and then see how it goes. Sometimes we won't bake off a lot of the dough, but
Just mix it and let it sit.
yeah.
Margherita's looking good.
I'll bet, dude. Third pie of the night.
But there's a lot of moisture in there. So the fior latte has a lot of moisture. The tomato sauce has a lot of moisture. So it's going to be a little not quite as dark as the broccolini pie, and we'll see how it compares to the zucchini and tomato.
Great.
But I'm pretty happy so far.
Great. Well, do you want to do one last stretch and fold?
I do, but I don't want it to get distracted. So let me do this. Let me wait for that pie to come out. We can have a look at it. I'll do a stretch and fold, and then we will say our goodbyes because it's been over 2 hours.
Yeah. Lauren's asking, what causes the rise up in the middle, and how do you avoid that?
You mean when your pizza rises in the middle of the?
We were talking about how if you don't top it, right? Like Justin was asking what type of toppings we like to use in our R&D bakes here. And I was just telling him most times we just use tomatoes so we don't get the dough puffing up in the center, and then you just don't really get a good idea of the bake and what it would look like as a pizza. And so if you have that problem, I guess it's, you need to weight it down with toppings. Some people
or let it gently ferment a little longer. Oh, don't dock it. I'm leaving.
No, I knew I was going to trigger you on that one.
Yeah, there are a couple ways to do it, Lorin, and it depends on if you're having a big bubble in the dough, which might be a shaping issue, or if there's air under the dough and you're getting a big bubble there, that sometimes you have to like people
30
pop
seconds and
those.
not a second more. This one looks good. I almost took
33,
it out
32.
now. I almost took it out now.
Don't you dare put a little char on that, dog.
It's not really charring, it's just browning, but I think
Okay.
it's going to be really nice. All right, it's
good.
been 15.
Here we go. He's going back in. Going back in.
You know, that's the number one way to trigger Noel is to start talking about docking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is not a big docking guy.
You know, no par bakes, no docking. Well, that
I don't
looks pretty
blame him.
good.
I don't blame him.
I'll do. Hey, look, I'll use a conveyor oven. I don't. It's all right.
So this one is really, really good. So you know what I like about this one?
Talk to me.
It's got the perfect combo. It's got some very light leopard spotting. The first one was too light. The second one was too dark. And this one has like, it's a little light, it's a little medium, it's a little light, a little medium, not too dark. I like that the basil is just barely charred, right? I'm getting to know the Fior di Latte. The thing about the Fior di Latte is that it's a relatively low moisture one. You don't have to drain it. But what you got to do is make sure that you cut it at the right thickness so that it melts just the right amount. If it melts too much, then it kind of breaks apart. And if it doesn't melt enough, then you get unmelted cheese. And nobody
You have a little iceberg of cheese in there.
A little iceberg of cheese. I couldn't have said it better. So let me do this. Let me do this. I'm going to get a little bit of parm and just finish it.
Finish it.
Then we're going to do a stretch and fold, and then we're going to say our goodbyes. What do you say?
But no more basil, huh? You're going.
There's so much basil in there right now. My whole kitchen smells like charred basil. It's one of my favorites.
Smells delicious.
You know, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley where I don't think we had a proper Italian pizzeria, and it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I ate Neapolitan pizza for the first time. And I remember them putting this steaming pizza down on my table, and I just smelt the charred basil, and I was like, well, that is an absolute epiphany. So anyway, super happy with this one. Really nice. So 650, right around 5 minutes, right, Justin?
Yeah.
It's got just the right amount of crisp.
It was at 6 minutes. 6 minutes.
6 minutes, yeah. And what I did at the end here was I turned the intensity all the way to the top. So I didn't get quite the browning on the bottom that I did on the first two, but it worked really well.
Yeah.
So learning as I go.
Here we go. We're burning, we're learning, everybody. In the immortal words of old Chris Bianco. Why don't you bring over your Cambro?
Sir, yes, sir.
Does Cam, are you there? Do you want to jump on? If not, no biggie, but thought I would go ahead and invite you.
I'm going to do a little stretch and fold here.
There he is.
Whoa,
Hey,
hardest working man in San Diego, next to James.
Jimmy, the dream team here. The Leaven Foods.
Were you wearing a jacket? Is it getting cold in there, Cameron?
We're fermenting dough at 72 in our air conditioner.
I love you guys.
Is on.
At 72, you need a jacket for 72?
Yeah, my days of Long Island are behind me. I'm San Diego man now.
All right.
Thin skin, they say, after you let that out here. Oh my gosh. Noel, what do you think? How's that dough feel?
Perfect. Right. 2 stretch and folds is all you need.
2 stretch and folds over 1 hour. Another 3 at what? And then
we're not going to do a third. 2 is perfect.
Yeah.
So it's been an hour, 2 stretch and folds. I'm probably going to do another hour of bulk, and then I'm going to put it into, I'll either use my wine fridge around 60 or so, or I'll put it on my patio.
Great.
Either way, it's going to be 60 degrees.
Awesome.
60, 61, 62, right in that neighborhood.
Awesome. Great.
Pretty happy. I thought it was a successful evening. Do we have any unanswered questions in the chat, or did you guys take care of those while I was running around doing my thing?
No, I think everything got kind of discussed and answered in the chat. If not, you guys know that you can always DM our buddies here at Leaven or Noel at Slow Rise if you have any burning questions. Do you guys want to, so today, let me just do a little wrap up. Neo-Neapolitan versus Neo. What is new Neapolitan? I thought it was the Canotto style, but evidently that is not the case. So we used a little bit more of the yeast. Instead of 0.25, we use 0.5%. 100% 50/50 AP00, 62% room temperature water.
Wait. Let's get those percentages right. Instead of 0.025, you used 0.05, right?
0.05.
That's the equivalent in IDY, right?
I said last week we did 0.025. This week we did 0.05. That is the equivalent in instant dry yeast. 3% oil. Yeah. 3.25 grams of LFAPIS.
Did you say 3% oil?
Yeah, you said, I'm sorry, 3% salt.
I think you need a beer, Justin.
I know.
You
I'm
need
drying out over here.
Clearly.
What's going on? All these pepperonis. All these
You're the only
dogs.
person who gets sharper after a beer.
I know. What is that? It's like the playing pool. One
Right?
beer, you get better. 2, 3, 4, you're great. 5, it's all downhill.
5 for you. 3 for me. 3 for me.
I mean, I can really see the geometry. After 3 beers, I'm just in the zone.
Really?
Yeah.
The geometry, huh?
I'll see you down at Hanano later. I'll buy you a free thing of popcorn.
Free thing of popcorn. You're going to buy me a free thing of popcorn?
That's the way I roll.
All right. You're very generous. Thank you.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Guys, Cam, Jimmy, you want to jump on, say something to your friends, your Romans, your countrymen?
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. Looking forward to seeing everybody next week with the New York.
Absolutely. Cameron, you've been doing a good job on Instagram. Also, for people who want to see what people have been doing, I think if we go on your Instagram profile, where can we see what people have been doing? You got some stories, you got some highlights. What do you got?
Yeah, if you tag us, we appreciate it. We can highlight what you made with the product and help me learn how to use social media. I'm doing my best.
Mm-hmm.
So
but you have a lot of stories that you put into a highlight reel that's at the top of your Insta, right? So people can see.
Yeah.
People are baking away.
Great.
I did. I figured out highlights.
It's a beautiful thing. Congratulations.
Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, James and Cameron, for making us all look good, because your microbes are making my mouth water. I gotta say, most people would say, most Italians would say that sourdough and pizza don't go together, but I think just the smallest inclusion rate, right, really highlights the beautiful ingredients, right? Most people say that salt, right, is what highlights the ingredients, that brings it all together, but a little bit of a subtle acidity is just a beautiful thing. Not too sour, right? Subtle acidity. That's what I have to say. So thank you, Cameron. Thank you, James. What's your name again? The pepperoni background. Oh, Justin Clark Dre. Take us out, would you?
Uncle Pizza to you all. Ladies, gentlemen, ladies, cats, dogs, children of all ages, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We are trying to do open source pizza party. We are learning here together, so we're so grateful that you all would spend this time with us. If you had fun, tell your friends. If you didn't, always, you can tell your enemies, make them come suffer through our excruciating banter. You know the deal. Here at Slow Rise Pizza, we do not get into the politics of pepperoni and pineapple. Oh no, my friends. We say pizza always, even Neo-Neapolitan, and always pizza. Thank you so much. We love you. Pieces and slices. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Bye.